Hello again, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of On the Range podcast. Got a special episode today. Got a great guest. Rick's going to intro him in a second. But today's episode is brought to you by the Firearms Training Notebook. 1% better every day, Rick. Best way to show and see progression and also help you plan your next dry fire and live fire session. As always, I am Mark Kelley and joined by my co-host and friend, Rick Hogg. How's it going, buddy?
Man, Mark, it's going great. Another great day here in the On the Range podcast studio where we can voice our First Amendment rights, hopefully unsuppressed. However, do us that huge favor. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Leave us a rating review. Been kind of slack out there, guys. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. But since you're out there cruising on the interwebs, make sure you guys swing by warhog.com, kellydefense.com. Make sure you sign up for those newsletters. Don't worry, I won't bombard you because my email campaign, at least via my web servers, banned right now.
Or they go to spam.
Yeah, I'm on suspension because my own email goes to spam and it flags and shuts everything down. Here nor there. Yeah. It's the issues of having AI. You know, it's no different. Facebook, Instagram pulled my ad for the Firearms Training Notebook, which, by the way, this episode is brought to you by because I'm selling firearms or guns or explosives. I'm like, hey, dope, it's a book. But this is your AI technology, right? This supposedly is supposed to make us smarter and brighter. It can't differentiate between a gun and a book. So think about that, guys. But anyway, since you're out there surfing the interwebs, make sure you guys swing by patreon.com/on the range podcast. Become a member of the OTR crew. Kind of some new branding we had going on there. We got 100 plus different variety of videos, training videos, reviews, tips, vlogs, all kinds of stuff on there. Crew members are growing, international group, like-minded individuals want to be 1% better every single day. We do a bi-monthly Zoom call with those guys. So just a fantastic crew. So make sure you guys swing by patreon.com/on the range podcast. Check it out. For my LEOs out there, we have a special tier just for you guys. And we'll start populating LEO only content just for you guys. So pass that to your friends and family. We got Vimeo, or we got OTR training on demand via Vimeo.
Yeah.
You guys can hear all that stuff by going to warhog.com, kellydefense.com. What else?
The Patreon, check out trials too. You can do a free trial on the Patreon.
Free trial. Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, go to the websites and sign up to be a crew member.
Yeah, man. Check that stuff out, kind of see what we got going on, be part of our bi-monthly Zoom call. And yeah, dude. So don't forget, swing by our pages, check out our industry partners. Huge savings, as Mark likes to say, save you a boatload of cash. Retails for suckers.
Boatload of cash.
Yeah, boatload.
Yeah.
So, all right, buddy. So our guest today is Wes Whitlock. So Wes is just a super dude. I'm going to pull you his bio from weswhitlock.com. Recommend you guys check it out. So Wes is down in the great state of Texas. He's a father of 2 children down there, 3 separate businesses. He was in the Marines, once a Marine, always a Marine. Can't forget that. Went to Rome to study business, man. How cool would that be, right? I mean, and trust me, I love Europe. So super cool on that one. Came back, worked for the government, doing some high threat protection work. Came back to Austin, Texas, worked for Dell, doing some EP work there. And then 2012 starts up Rogue American Apparel, where he's still doing that today. 2005 starts up his second business, Disciplines of Iron. Then 2016, hey, since we got all that going on, why don't we start up Invader Coffee?
Jeez.
Damn. Amazing. 2017, he is the Veteran Business of the Year by Crown Royal. Waves the start flag at the American F1 race. He is going to fire up his podcast, Going Rogue with Wes Whitlock. He's got a book in the works, traveled around the world. He supports 501c3s. And again, guys, I'm just trying to give you a quick peruse through. I mean, it is just on and on. The things he does. And he's just a great American, just supports great foundations. WesWhitlock.com. He's got his supplements out there as well. So make sure you guys check him out. Super excited to have Wes joining the show.
Demographic. So we were talking, and I was talking about the Camaro. We were going to do some work together because of his channel, and because he's got great supporters. So I'm like, you can drive a 4-speed, right? And he's like, well, I've driven a tractor before, so it shouldn't be that much harder. I'm like, bro, you're a country guy with guns and shit and a rodeo dude, and you can't drive a manual? Like, I call bullshit.
Yeah.
Dude.
It's your millennial anti-theft device, man. If you got a standard transmission, nobody's taking your car. They're going to sit there and go, I don't know what to do with this. So
we should just make that now. You shouldn't have any kind of YouTube that has anything to do with guns, cars, or anything if you can't drive a standard transmission.
No,
that should just be out.
I'm trying to get my damn ears working here. Let me try this guy. See, I got all my stuff right here. But you guys can hear me okay, right?
Yeah, we can hear you. Came in a little spotty there. I don't know if you had like a little Wi-Fi glitch or something, but
Okay.
If your audio's acting up, Wes, just look at the settings button and just make sure it's on your headphones there.
Okay. Let's see. There's FaceTime camera, audio.
The camera looks great.
All right. And can you guys hear now? Can you guys hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we could hear you great all the time. I'm just worried about you being able to hear with your headphones on. So
cool. Yeah, they're kind of glitchy, so I may just throw them off because I can hear you guys. Fuck it, I'm gonna go naked here. All right. Don't get too excited though. All right.
All good, brother. All
Nice.
good.
Yeah, well, it's good to finally meet you guys. I know we've been talking for a long time, and see all your stuff, see what you guys are doing. Definitely in line with a lot of just cool shit and stuff that we love and stuff that definitely a lot of the same buddies and stuff. So, it's cool to finally connect, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, Wes, let's be an honest broker, man. You're crushing it, dude. Right. Let's think about it for a minute.
Everybody looks like they're crushing it, but we're grinding, man. We're grinding just like the next guy,
Well, but I mean, let's think about it from a veteran entrepreneurial standpoint, right? 3 separate businesses. Now, you just started up the supplement company. Is that falling under Rogue American, or who's that falling under? Or is that a separate offset that Wes just decided, hey, man, let's get into supplements?
Yeah, my employees are already pissed. So, no, it's it's called the entrepreneur freaking crazy mindset. I love to build stuff, man. I love to take something from nothing, and I love to grow it. That's my obsession. And I'm pretty good at doing that. So I really have to dial myself in sometimes and try to stay focused on one thing. So it's really hard for me because there's so much stuff I want to do. There's so many different things that I want to do, and it's all stuff that I love. I started Rogue American, 11 years ago. There wasn't a lot of veteran businesses really out there. There was not like it is today. There's a lot of cool stuff out there. The internet and dudes getting out and starting their own business and stuff has really exploded in the past 10 years. We used to go to SHOT Show, 11 years ago, 12 years ago. That whole dynamics changed. Back then it was a lot of the fisher, the hunting crew. You had, Black Hawk, you had Tag Gear, Chris Osmond with Tag. He's been out there for a long time. And you had Tactical Tailor. You had a few of those companies that were there, but nowadays it's like there's so many. And we had a body armor company then. It was a low-vis body armor. So it was called Rogue Gunfighter. We did ankle med kits. We did back pocket med kits. We did super slick low-vis stuff, And back then, 11 years ago, 12 years ago, it was still the bulky RoboCop stuff. A lot of it at SHOT Show anyway. Dudes downrange were making their own stuff, like, as you know. And Tactical Tailor kind of was, they were doing great. They were coming out with some really cool kit. but there just wasn't a lot of it out there. So, you know, we did that, and I ended up selling that business off. But I had Rogue American, and at the time I was working full time. I was doing private security for executives, but I wanted to do my own thing eventually. And I you know, I like the design work. I like the, you know, I'm not a fashion dude. I don't give a shit about like clothing and all that. I just like to come up with cool designs. And back then I wanted to kind of have a message, put a message out there that was not your typical PX diplomacy at 1,000 yards with the sniper guy on it, and, you know, American Eagles and all this stuff, which is cool, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to take cool designs from my travels from Greece and Rome and Yemen. And, you know, just as you guys know, there's just some amazing art out there that's 2,000 plus years old that relates to kind of this, you know, the Templar stuff, the, you know, the warrior mindset stuff, all that. And I was like, that's the kind of stuff I want to see, you know, on stuff, and kind of spread our message back then too. Dudes were still downrange, and there was still a lot of discontent, and there was still a lot of, you know, when you're younger and you're over there in those countries, you know, you're very proud to be American, and sometimes we weren't proud. We weren't friendly with the enemy, you know, because of certain things we would have to deal with. So we kind of took on the role of the infidel mindset, and, you know, and we embraced the designs into that. So going to, you know, Jerusalem and Rome, and going into churches that had art that the pilgrims would leave on their way down to Jerusalem. That was just badass stuff, you know, winged skeletons with crosses on them. And, you know, I was like, that's the shit I like, you know, like, so, you know, I started kind of messing around with that. But before that, you know, downrange, you know, when I was doing diplomatic security at the time. So we opened up the embassy there, the embassy in Kabul. So we had Paladin, which was the ambassador's security detail, and then we had Broadsword, which is the long range teams. And I worked on both of those. But, you know, I was kind of the guy that came up with the morale stuff, you know, just like you guys know, every unit, every small team has these badass little designs that dudes would kick up downrange, and that shit was badass, you know, just like dudes were doing in Vietnam, like, you know, making shit out in the field and just making these really evil like designs, man, that were just nasty, you know. And so I was kind of that guy, you know, and it was just for morale stuff for our you know, Paladin was, you know, have gun will travel, kind of a Crusader theme type stuff, and then Broadsword, I did that stuff. But the guys loved it. They would go home, and then once I left all that stuff and I'm back stateside working, dudes would hit me up. Hey, dude, you got any more of those, you know, Paladin shirts and this, that, and the other? Like, no, man, I just made those for us down there, you know. But they got me thinking. I was like, man, that shit was cool, man. And you know, I was working, and you know, I've always been a kind of an entrepreneur spirited person. And I told myself at 40, I'm done. I will not be working for anybody. Whatever, no matter what I have to do, I'm done. You know, so I started Rogue, you know, and you know, put up a website and a couple designs. And what really helped me propel myself then was the dudes I met, the dudes I worked with that were still supporting me. So guys that were still downrange, guys that I looked up to that were still downrange, working for the agencies, working for all the units. You know, I'd send them stuff and they would support me and push it out there. And it just really started taking off to the point where I'm like, man, if I left, you know, if I was doing this full time, I could probably make a living. I could probably pay my bills. I could probably, you know, walk away from having to work for the man. But I was, you know, I was making really good money. And for a dude in the States, it comes from, you know, when you get out of the military, you don't make any money. And then when you go contracting, you start making money. But then when you come stateside, you're trying to get a good job where you're not have to worry about IEDs and threats of those nature. It's a different type of threat in the US. So, and I had kids, young kids, so I wanted to be home. And got a really good job with Dell. I worked for Dell, Michael and his family for, you know, 8 years. And it was a good job for guys like us. It was good pay, you know, the benefits, all that stuff. But I wasn't, you know, you got to put on the monkey suit sometimes, you know, you kind of have to be somebody who you're not, you know, and you got to really play the game. And a lot of guys that get out of that high threat stuff, or They can have the baddest background in the world. I don't care what their resume says that they did in the military. When they get out and work stateside EP is a whole different dynamic. So you got to have skill set, yes, but you also have to be able to adapt to different family dynamics. You can't just be, I'm a badass that's got shot every weapon and been all over the world and has been to every school in the world. Like that helps for sure. But can you have a conversation with executives? Can you travel with family members? Can you make them not feel like there's a freaking ape behind me everywhere they go? Like,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was kind of hard for me because I like the high threat stuff. And I like, when you're doing that kind of work, you knew your role and you knew, there was no like, oh, am I going to offend my principal, my people? Like, no, it's like, sir, no, we're not going there. This is why. Or guess what? We're going there and this is what we're bringing with us. They had no say in how we did our security there. Where stateside, you're dealing with families, you're dealing with, billionaire executives who are going to tell you sometimes what to do. They're not going to be like, oh no, you can kind of maybe give them some insight on certain areas that you might recommend not to go to. You give recommendations and threat assessments and stuff like that for sure. But there's a lot of diplomatic negotiation happening in stateside EP that you have to kind of play those games. So, I just didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that until I was 50 or 60. And I didn't want to be because I worked with those dudes. They get in that line of work and that's all they do. And then they're with, their children at a discotheque in New York City and they're 60 years old and like, fuck, man, at 3 a.m, this sucks. Like I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
So, started Rogue and then it really started taking off, man. And I said, well, so I was doing this full time. I could probably do okay. So I did. I quit my job. I remember leaving that day, Round Rock. I was out at the Dell headquarters there and walked out. And I was like, man, I'm nervous because I still have bills to pay. I have a mortgage. I have kids. I have,
right.
So cut the cord, man. And then just went full bore, man. And things within 2 or 3 weeks, a month, I'm like, I knew I had made the right decision. So from there just kept growing it and, made mistakes along the way, made plenty of mistakes. I didn't know everything for sure. I was kind of, as I went, I was learning as I went. I did go to school. I studied at the American University in Rome. I went to Rome. I studied business there. I started international marketing and business. This was, 1999, 2000. E-commerce was still a new word. Like that was a class you took. The internet, all that stuff was still fairly new. So it was kind of old. It wasn't relative to what's happened nowadays, everything's happening so fast. So I've never used any of that really. I don't think that in my businesses, any stuff I learned in school, it was more when I went to school, I was going to go in as an 1811. I wanted to either go with the agency or go as an 1811 Secret Service or as a special agent. And you have to have a degree. I don't care who you are. You have to have a degree to get into those doors. And was my goal. When I went to school to get my degree, I was going to stay with the government. Anyway, dude, I'm sorry. I'm rambling on here, man. I was trying to.
Wes, you're spot on. Hey, I do have a quick question for you though. Before you left Dell, were you doing anything backside to prep your business, or did you pretty much cut the cord, go from there, kind of cold turkey into Rogue?
I had prepped. Yeah, I'd prepped, definitely. And I tell guys that all the time that ask that are getting into business and, when do you know when to leave? When should I do it? A lot of people are scared. A lot of people are on that fence and I get it. But if you're prepared you've done your research and you've been doing testing things, then you feel pretty good about it. So I felt good enough about it. So I've been building my business as I worked. If we went to say, a horse show and you're there for 12 hours sitting in your Suburban, because there's no reason for you to be in at that particular event for whatever reason. I'm in my car building my business, man. Of course I have my geo fences set up, I have my comms set up but no dude sitting in his car for 12 hours like, fuck, man, okay, that's not real, man. Of course, your situational awareness is there. You're there for your client. You have your things set up. You have a team. You have dudes talking to each other. You have have a dog guy. You have a medic, just like in the military, and they're all coordinating. You have an agent in charge who's up front with the principal, so you can communicate. But a lot of dudes would sit in there if it was downtime. They're on YouTube. They're watching movies. They're on fucking Netflix. They're and why they did that, I was like, I'm fucking gonna build my business, man, because not only I'm getting paid, but I'm gonna build my business as I have a job. So that's what I really started doing. So yeah, I really prepared as much as I could at the time that with what I knew to pull the trigger when I felt was ready. At the time was ready.
Friends, let's talk a little bit about Manscaped. Spring has sprung, and our friends at Manscaped have the best tools for some spring cleaning. They've already helped you tidy up the nooks and crannies of your body's basement, but this year, Manscaped can help you get the perfect presentation on that beautiful face of yours, guys, with the Beard Hedger Pro Kit. Make sure you look your best this spring by using the code OTR20 and get 20% off and get free shipping at Manscaped. It's time to tame your mane with the Beard Hedger Pro Kit. The sun is peeking back out, which means you'll have to show your face again in the daylight. So use the kit to make sure that your scruff looks award-winning, whether you have a glorious beard flow or you have smooth cheeks. Again, go to manscaped.com, use the promo code OTR20, save yourself 20% and get free shipping.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting too. I'm sorry, Rick.
No, you good, Mark. Go ahead.
I think that's interesting too that you said that. There's nothing wrong with, especially if you're transitioning from a uniform service or you're contracting and you're looking to be an entrepreneur and do your own thing. There's nothing wrong with having that job, that stability that allows you the time and the resources to do certain things. You're not worried about your family. You're not worried about the private school you're sending your kids to because you have that, that primary job while you're setting things up and even, start initiating some of the stuff. And I think some people think they have to dive right all into it and, or take out these huge loans and things like that to, have some capital to start your business instead of just having a job. I think a lot of people, when they come out of the service, they think they got to jump right into it instead of, getting some stability, getting things working and then go into their business. And that's what, Rick and I talked about that earlier today is all the stuff you have going on. And that's kind of like us. We have a lot of things, irons in the fire going on at the same time. And it seems kind of chaotic. And I think you seem to thrive in that stuff where there's many things going on.
Yeah. It's sometimes it's a disaster. It looks like a disaster from afar because there's so much shit going on. And it's, and I'm trying to get better with that because I sometimes create, I opened up brick and mortar stores. My e-commerce business was, I took Rogue from my garage, from a spare bedroom in my house to my garage, to 5 different buildings fairly quick.
Wow.
I took my 401k out because you have to have cash. You have to have capital.
Yeah.
Like you said, you don't have to go, some people full in with that. No, fucking get some experience, test the market, educate yourself on your product and your services and how you're going to fulfill and execute. I see guys with a lot of great ideas or with a cool product but they can't execute. They can't deliver. They can't fulfill. That's where dudes get jammed up. And I've learned those lessons. You can have the coolest product, idea, service, whatever, training, but if you can't execute it and you can't deliver that, it's not going to go anywhere. You might last a year or two, but you guys have seen them. Dudes last a year or two and they're gone, man. In training companies, in businesses, those are businesses, and the same rules apply. And nobody knows everything. Sometimes you do have to take some chances for sure. But if you've planned, just like overseas, you're planning your routes, you're planning you know, your room entries, your planning, a lot of it does fall back into some of the training you've had in the military. You know, a lot of times you plan for shit, but none of that stuff happened. Other stuff happened, you know, and you adjust, you know. But at least you've trained yourself, and when those certain things do come up, you have the confidence to execute. So give yourself as many tools as you can. You know, read some books. You know, study some other businesses that have done well. But also stay original. Don't forget to stay original, and that's another area where I see a lot of guys in business, and small business particularly, is, you know, they lose their originality. They're just spinning off somebody else's stuff, and they're just, you know, they're just changing up what's already been out there, you know, and that's fine. You could probably do okay, but people want original, man. People want originality, and that's what God gave us. Each one of us is an original number one. That's it. It's one of us. And if you can put that into your business and your delivery, that's what people want. You know, they don't want a cookie cutter. Here's another fucking, I don't know, whatever. You know, that's fine for a while, but if you can bring something that's personal to you and original about you, people like that, man. I like meeting people that are original. I don't care how much money they have, anything. I want to know that original thing that they are. And, you know, if you can put that in your business, you'll be fine. You won't come off as you're imitating somebody else. You're not stealing somebody's training course. You're just, you know, you might take bits and pieces of things, for sure. We all do that. Painters do that. Musicians do that. Artists do that. You know, they take little bits and pieces that inspired them. You know, be inspired. Find some stuff that inspires you. You know, but also bring your originality to the table as well. Otherwise, it just starts looking like everything else, and then people get bored and, you know, and leave. Find the next thing that's original. So I tell a lot of guys coming up, you know, just don't lose that, man. It's okay you're not like that. Oh man, that's fine. Be you, and put that into your business. People will know, and they'll value that.
Yeah.
So Wes, going back kind of when you first started up Rogue, just a couple questions for you. Probably, what do you think your biggest lesson learned during that process was? And then did you have any mentor or mentors during that process?
So biggest, looking back, you know, I was doing very well for what I knew and what I was, and growing at a sustainable rate. You know, I took my 401k out. So I had maybe 60,000 there. I bought inventory. I bought, you know, computers. I bought things I needed. And, you know, we did sales over $34 million in six years, you know, which to me was unbelievable. And I never thought, I was like, man, if I sell a few things, I feel kind of cool, man. But it started transpiring very quickly, you know. So when that was happening, it was great, but I also made a lot of mistakes there. And I don't even call them mistakes. I don't call them mistakes. I call them learning lessons. And you know, when you're doing really well somewhere and you're, you know, I kind of get a little bored. I want to try something else too within that. What else can I do with this? So I opened brick and mortar stores, you know, e-commerce, where I was killing it. And opened up one in Fort Bragg and then one in Kelley, because they're right outside the military bases. And what I wanted to do with my brand was, I didn't want to be a basement brand selling stuff on e-commerce. Like, I wanted dudes to be able to come have a true experience at my store, get a tattoo, hang out with other dudes, play pool, you know, something badass, man, that just wasn't out there. But it was very difficult. It was very hard to find employees. It was hard, you know. My Kelley store, a car ran through the front door. It was just like,
Holy
man,
crap.
Yeah, nightmare. And those are just little, I mean, there was so much that it was to deal with. You know, looking back, I should have franchised it out. I should have said, you know, this is your store. I will help you succeed. I have the business model down. People want it. They love it. You know, stick to the guidelines. I will help you. But I'm not running it. I'm not dealing with insurance. I'm not dealing with employees that are late. I'm not dealing with, you know, so that was a mistake for me. I was killing it on e-commerce, and I'm like, I want to open my stores now. And I had a store in Austin too, which was killing it because I'm here. I can manage that. So that was definitely a mistake, not a mistake. It was a learning lesson. I learned a lot from. So when I talk to people if you're doing really well in something, and you want to spread into some other things, just be careful about it, because that might actually take you away from your bread and butter. You know what I mean? Like you're doing really well there, but you're spreading yourself too thin. So don't spread yourself too thin. If you can grow at a sustainable rate and then bring on the right staffing to do all that, fine. But if you have to be so involved, it's going to burn you out. Number one, it's going to burn you out, and it's not going to be fun anymore. It's not fun anymore. More people, more problems.
Yes.
That's how I look at kind of being small is kind of cool, man. I'm fluid. I can move. I can shoot, move, communicate faster and efficiently. I can make decisions on the spot and change things. Once you're that big monster that everybody wants to become, I'm going to dominate everybody. I'm going to crush them. I'm going to have the fucking kingdom and all this bullshit. Yeah, just like watch the fucking Roman Empire, man. The bigger you get, more people involved, all that stuff, man. It just gets corrupted, and you lose originality. So, back then I'm competitive in nature, and I do want to grow, and I start seeing a lot of stuff happening and competition and spin-offs type stuff. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna be ahead and this, that, and the other. But no, I do my own thing. People like it, great. If they don't, I don't care. Like, that's another thing I've learned. Like, just be happy that you're sustaining and you're doing what you love to do, and you're paying your bills, and you'll grow just fine, and you'll get the type of support you need. And I don't want to be an Apple, or I don't want to be a monster corporation. I don't want to be that, because then it's not fun. I've had 50 employees and I've had 3 employees, and I have much more fun when I have 5, 6, 8 employees. More people, same with employees, you have more problems. So,
right.
And I just don't want it. Some people like that. They want to have, they want the management and the leadership and all that stuff that excites them and motivates them. Me, not really. It doesn't anymore. I like the creative side. I want to create stuff. I want to be involved with people. I don't want to manage people. That's not motivating to me. I did that shit in the Marine Corps. I'm not fucking babysitting people. It's just.
But then fun. Wes goes, hey man, I've got Rogue American going. Let me go dive into some coffee, because who doesn't like a good cup of coffee and start that whole process.
Yeah, so Rogue's doing great, and we did the brick and mortar stuff, and so Rogue, the way I had Rogue set up, Rogue it's a lifestyle brand. It's a lifestyle brand of what not only I like, the dudes that are into my kind of stuff I'm into and they're into. They like guns, they like knives, they like dog stuff. I did dog collars, I did high-end nylon dog collars, I did tactical belts, I did fucking what else? Shit, beard oils. I did all the shit that we like, man. I was like, just one-stop shop for cool shit, man. And and with that, dudes, what does every dude like? Fucking coffee, man. Most of them do anyway. So I'm like, I'm going to offer coffee under my brand that people can pick up a shirt, a hat, some beard oil, a fucking knife. That I hire a local knife maker. All my dudes that I work with, I hire local small businesses, veteran military police that make cool shit, Leathermen, knife makers, stuff like that. And it's a win-win. We say this is what we want, we develop it with them, and now I'm giving them a lot of business. I turn around and then sell that and increase my business. So we were doing stuff like that. So coffee, I love coffee. I lived in Italy for a long time, and as you guys know, when you travel the world, you try lots of different coffee: Turkish, Yemen coffee, Cuban coffee. Coffee's got a really cool history to it. So I wanted to make a really good coffee, and I don't like acidic. Like a lot of the coffees out there, in my opinion, are too acidic. They're very acidic. So we came up with Invader. I got with a local roaster. I interviewed about 6 different roasters, and I found one that would allow us to develop our own blend with and our own identity within that coffee profile, which is a low acidic coffee. So we do air roasting. Air roasting is 1% of the coffee in the world is air roasted, because it's very difficult. It's expensive. It roasts the bean at 360 degrees. So it's 360 degrees roasted. So he kills the acidic level. And we extract the skin. So when you roast the bean, there's a skin around the bean. almost every company I know, including Starbucks, leaves that on there. It's a filler. If you look at your grounds, you see little white specks in there. That's filler, man. That's burnt skin. You look at mine, it's fucking black, like my fucking heart, you know? So,
Boom. Yeah.
no, I wanted to create, anything we did, it's no gimmicky silliness. It's the highest quality stuff I can do, from our designs to our coffee to working with knife makers or leather workers. I want the highest quality stuff. I don't want gimmicky shit to put a logo on. So, we worked on that coffee for about a year until we came out with what we thought was a perfect coffee, which was Invader Original, which is the original Vader there. And we launched it, and dude, the feedback was great. People were loving it. And so I was like, you know what, let's create some different blends. So we did a Mexican chocolate, which, by the way, we launched on Amazon, and we came out. It was #1 for new coffee and tea products on Amazon, beating Starbucks #2 for K-Cups, which we already know our coffee's better than Starbucks, but because they have that huge name, you can get buried in Amazon just because you don't have that big, powerful marketing bullshit.
Yeah.
But because the feedback, the delivery, people's just how quick they responded to Mexican chocolate K-Cups, #1, so that to me those are the wins I like. Those are the wins I like. I don't need to be in every store and all this stuff. No, those are fucking nightmares. I want to keep it quality, consistent, and anyway, so that's how I started Invader. It was a product under the Rogue lifestyle, which is shooting guns, listen to fucking heavy metal, burning out cars, helping people out, being a fucking good person, being somebody who can fucking be capable and able to do shit. And, and they want good coffee. They don't want some shit coffee. No, they want good quality shit. So that's kind of how Invader happened. And then it just took off. And, my sense with this was, and it was doing great under the Rogue umbrella, under the Rogue brand, but I'm a big picture person. I built Invader to be positioned as another business. I've already sold a business before. You want your business set up. So, I tell guys this too, getting into business. One day you're going to want to leave that business unless you're just so in love with it that you want to die with that fucking thing, which I don't give a shit. I want to be fucking in, I don't know, Montana or, in Sicily, floating in a pool about 300 pounds eating grapes or some shit. I don't know. I don't want to be sitting there counting my fucking coffee beans or my stores.
Right.
No. So I want to do cool stuff with my businesses. We've got to build homes for guys. We've built schoolhouses for guys. We don't go out there and mention this and throw that around as a marketing scheme. Dudes that know. We've done stuff with the squadron dudes out there, and they brought me a plaque that just says thanks on it. We don't talk about that. We don't, and to me, those are wins for me. I don't need to, that means we're doing stuff right. And that's the stuff, we've been able to do with our businesses that we don't talk about a lot of stuff that we've been able to do that makes me, it's one thing selling stuff, making money and all this stuff, but I want to, if I can help some folks along the way, and especially the communities that I respect, that's my obligation. That's my duty. And if you make good money, and I'm all about let's make some big money, because I guess what, now I can do some shit. Now I can, I can do some pretty amazing stuff. Not, well, I bought me a couple nice things, but I've been able to help out some folks that it's more worthwhile to me, man. Like, that stuff, that's where it's at. So, and that's another part of, success and growth. Do some good things with your machine, because you really want to do that. And then good things will happen, and amazing people will come into your lives. I've got to be around and do projects with people that I grew up watching on TV that I would because we've gotten involved with adaptive athletes, we've gotten involved with different folks that nobody really cared about at the time. We took adaptive athletes to the Arnold, the first people to sponsor that. We were a small business, but, and when the founders asked me, I told them, they still laughed about it. I said right away, I was like, absolutely, man. What do we need to do? And the founder at the time, Dell, said, man, you know how many companies we reached out to? And not a peep, man, not a fucking crickets. Because you're the first one that said, dude, hell yeah, what do we got to do? And, you know, that's my mindset. And we were able to, you know, for us as a small business, help get those folks out there to compete and be there. Because that's motivating to me. When I don't care if you're some beautiful fucking CrossFit athlete or some strong, I don't care. I like to see dudes and gals that have missing limbs and true heart, people that go out there and fight no matter what their physical ability is, and they're out there. That to me is motivating and inspiring. And you know, those are the type of things that I love about being in this business, is doing those things. And then with that, the amazing things happen. Who shows up to see that event? You know, it was disabled versus able bodies competition CrossFit back in the corner. You know, I'm friends with some of the Arnold security guys, and you know, I was like, dude, I was telling Mark that's on the detail, I was like, you got to bring Arnold over here. This shit will blow his mind. It's badass. And they end up taking him over there, and Arnold goes over there, and he's blown away, man. He's fucking blown away. You got dudes with no fucking legs doing burpees with his arms on boxes, man. You got, you know, his back's is fucking wide. You know, these gals and with, you know, child of Chernobyl, you know, Tanya, child of Chernobyl. She was born during that meltdown. Her mother was in that during that meltdown, so she contacted all the radiation. And when she was born, she had all kinds of issues. Ended up in a Russian throwaway place, and some beautiful American family brought her to the States, and now she's an athlete, man. She's both of her legs. She's you know, born without both of her legs below the knee, and she only has a few fingers and part of her tongue. But she goes out there and fucking kills it, man, you know, and you know, it's just stuff like that. I think it's badass. Like that's fucking badass. So Arnold goes over there and he's blown away. And when they're going back to his hotel, his security guy calls me. He goes, dude, on the way back, Arnold, he said the whole time, he's like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen at any one of my events in all these years. That was amazing. So, you know, then he gets involved and starts going over there and takes Derek Carver out to dinner and all this stuff, you know. So every time you know, and back then, dude, I would show up to the Arnold with a Coleman tent and some gear, and two ugly looking dudes just like me standing, you know, and you know, and here it is, you know, 2-3 years later, every year I go there, guess who comes to my booth, man? Small little company like us, and you got all these big giant cheesy supplement companies like Bang and all this bullshit. That millions of dollars in their booth build outs and stuff. And here's, you know, a couple of freaking knuckleheads standing in a tent, maybe pay a couple good looking chicks to maybe stand in there with us. I don't know. And, and Arnold comes by, man, and hangs out, gets pictures and all that. And people are like, what? Because you can't even pay him to do that there. You know, so to me, those are the wins. Those are wins. And that's because we've gotten involved with stuff and given back to different communities in any way we could. That's opened up amazing doors, you know, and I can go on and on and on about more of those type of stories. So I tell dudes getting into business, you don't have to give everything away. And I'm a for-profit business, for-profit. I got to make profit. I got bills to pay. I got employees to pay. I got vendors to pay. Shit, man, it's expensive. It's very expensive to have a business, especially if you have product and all this stuff and employees and all that. But if I can use my machine and help some folks out financially, we can raise some money. I've done hero wads out here at my place. I got a gym that's free for veterans, free for law enforcement officers, free for anybody joining the military. All the recruits come out here and train. I don't put all that stuff all over fucking social media once in a while, but Tim Kennedy comes out and trains. Undertaker comes in here once in a while. You know, it's kind of cool. But I like when these dudes show up, man. I like when our type of people show up, man. They feel like I want to feel like I'm back, you know, I'm at a deployment style Connex gym, you know, and talk to some other dudes with like minds. And then we do hero wads, you know, and that's the juice, man. That's the cool stuff. So, you know, I think that's what kind of sets us apart from a lot of things. And I'm, you know, I try to support everybody, and I you know, I think there's a piece of pie for everybody to win. And I want everybody to win. But, you know, just stay true to you and your roots, and good things they come. You start getting pulled in all these directions, it'll start messing with you. And I've done that. I've gotten pulled in direction. Maybe we should try this. Maybe we should try that. And now I've come back. Like, I'm like, no, man, I'm going to come back to my roots and to what, and what got us really going, and not worry about anything else but what we're doing. So that's the good stuff for me, but it just depends on what your goals are, how big you want to get. Getting big doesn't mean, and actually getting big can crush you too. You could get so big that now you have, say 100 employees, 200 employees, you have massive overhead. You're making a lot of sales. You have a lot of, revenue coming in, but then it's going right back out when you got to pay all your bills. Now, say something happens, like COVID happens, or say, recession comes, something happens, and now, fuck, man, like you could go from being this giant. You've seen it happen. It happened to the Gap, I think. Old Navy. Some of those big companies during COVID had to shut down so many places because they couldn't afford it. So that's something to think about as a small business. Man, stay small, have a cool product, and crush shit, man. Have a couple employees, and you then crush it. Don't get all this overhead and employees and all this stuff, because everything you're making is going right out the window, right back out. So I say that, man, stay small, and you can do really well, man. And you're flexible. You can move. And I have a bunch of.
Well, you've got a lot to say, and the message that you deliver is powerful. I saw on one of your websites, I think it was weswhitlock.com, there was a tab that was empty for the books and the podcasts and that kind of stuff. Have you considered doing your own podcast, or do you have one that's already out there? You just haven't put the content out yet?
Well, that's kind of the next phase of my growth and my journey. I've taken my businesses farther than I thought I could ever when I started. And I love them. They've been great, a lot of great things, but like, I want to, at this point in my life, like, I want to start being able to share some knowledge. I want to start to teach. I want to go maybe teach at a high school or something.